Hey gang, this morning we are in Willow Park, Texas. We are it's about a half hour west of Fort Worth, Texas, and we're at Willow Springs Cemetery. Pardon me for shouting, but we are literally right against the Highway 20, which is one of the main highways that cuts through here. And you know, as I stand here, a very old cemetery, it makes me think and wonder. And there's condos there, there's a commercial area. To get in the cemetery, they don't have, I mean, the main intersection's right there, but it's forgotten. I mean, forgotten except for those who drive by in this corner, but they don't make it easy to get in here. Maybe that's purposeful, but the point is that just imagine, let's go back to 1860, a year before the Civil War, and this 20 had to be a wagon trail. I mean, why is the cemetery right here against the highway? And none of this existed. The grave that we're going to visit, her name Martha Sherman, a horrible story, pioneer story, Comanche massacre, homestead. We've told these stories before, and of course it went both ways. Go to Wounded Knee and the massacre there. Of course, there's pictures of Wounded Knee, but I was thinking, you know, that's about it. We have pictures of the whites and the soldiers and all the gory stuff that the bands did, but no pictures of what I guess we'll say we did to them, which is just as bad. Anyway, without getting too much into the story, Martha Sherman, we're going to walk to her grave. The story really starts, the discovery of Martha's body really starts, like I said, in 1860. There were two boys and a father that were living in the area, and well, they got in some trouble, the boys did. So let's take a short walk to Martha's grave, and I'll show you a little bit of the cemetery here. We had the summer, or spring I should say, it was June of 1860, and it was the Brownings. They lived on the Clear Fork of the Brazos River, and the two boys were out. Their names, Frank and Josephus. Well, they were out on the prairie, and they had the horses hobbled, which means the two front legs, sometimes all the legs, they have it's like handcuffs, so they can't run away. And all of a sudden, a Comanche raiding party or group came upon them, and they took off. It was a raiding party. And Josephus didn't take the time to unhobble his horse. Big mistake. And as they took off, his horse, being hobbled, could not really gallop that fast. Frank was way out ahead, but the Comanches caught up with Josephus and killed him instantly on the spot. They were catching Frank, and they about caught him. He, luckily, and actually they came so close, they were shooting arrows, and he was wounded, but he came upon the river, and there was a high riverbank, and he, with horse, dove in and upright and made his way across, and they didn't want to go in. So he was spared. They let him go. Now he rode home, and he told everybody what was going on. We got to go back. We got to see if we can get Josephus. There's a small chance that he is still alive. Well, once he got back, the news traveled fast, And in the area was a General Baylor, and he was in charge of protecting this part of Texas. And he put his group together, his men, and they immediately began a pursuit of the Comanche party. It was on June 28th when they overtook the Comanche raiding party at a place called Paint Creek. Very fierce battle, and Baylor and his group killed 13 of the band. Well, they went back to where they had come from, Weatherford, with the scalps of 9 and a lot of other trophies. One of those trophies included the scalp of a woman. That's right. Most likely, good chance, it was Martha Sherman's scalp. Can you imagine? Interesting tomb here. Well, once they got back and reported in, they were heroes. And, well, they had a big party, a big festival. And General Baylor was the man. And they put on display the scalps and all the trophies. And what's unbelievable is they put, I don't know that I knew it or if it was Martha, but they put the woman's scalp on display for everyone to gawk at. But of course, they wanted to show everyone the outrages. But can you imagine going to the festival and seeing the long hair? The women wore very long hair, scalp. And then he took it on the road all over Texas and beyond to show off the trophies. Oh, it was brutal times, guys. Could you imagine being a pioneer and not only always having to be prepared, but just always in fear? I mean, you're dead. And not just dead, you are tortured to death. And I'm going to tell you what happened to poor Martha at her grave, which is right here. A little lonely grave. You know, I'm kind of surprised. This is a well-known story. No flowers. So, you see there, it does say killed by Indians in 1860, buried here because a church was nearby. Wife of Ezra Sherman. Well, what happened to Martha? How did this all happen? Well, the story goes, and it is verified, that, you know, the homestead was attacked and they let the husband and they let the children go, but they made her stay back. They dragged her 200 yards from the homestead, and then they violated her in the worst ways, the way they found her body, and then they stabbed her. One of the Comanches stuck an arrow up under her shoulder blade and of course scalped her. I'm sure this is not the original stone. People in the area were good enough to, or it may have been relatives. I do know there's a book, I haven't read it, I'll put the link in if I can find it, that was written by a descendant. I'm betting they probably provided this stone. Well, what happened to the family? And by the way, family, I forgot to mention that Martha was pregnant. And when they found her, the baby was stillborn. So the baby died too. And I'm betting that the baby, her baby, is buried here in her arms. After her death, her older brother, Jeremiah Sanford Johnson, and his wife, Lizzie, took in and raised the children that she had with Jonathan Shears. And Ezra, her husband, Ezra Sherman, kept his two boys. So Martha Sherman, a very sad story, is buried here. Let no one forget. Rest in peace. Rest in peace.